Yeah, better defensive effort for sure. Georgia's a good offensive team. Halfway through the season, to hold those guys to 51 points and low field goal percentage. We did a lot of good things defensively. In the Memphis game, just too many runs. We played some good defense in that game too, but too many 4-minute segments where we weren't.
I'm sure you're pretty familiar with a good chunk of Arkansas's roster. You haven't faced them in Kentucky, and then obviously facing Cal in the past. In what ways does this particular team Arkansas has this year resemble some of those teams? And what's the challenge biggest challenge you envision in this matchup?
Yeah, I would say even though it's Coach Cal's first year at Arkansas, the team and the roster has his DNA all over it. You got talented players, some guys on this team that'll play in the NBA. Got a balance between veterans, mostly portal guys, and then some young talent. Athletic, definitely the ability to play off the dribble, get downhill. Defensively, 3 legitimate shot blockers on this Arkansas team. So, you watch the team play. It looks like a Coach Cal team, even though it's their first year.
Not asking you to give away game plan or anything, but when you go against the team that has the kind of size they have, you try to dictate tempo to sort of
Definitely got to have strategy with their length and size. Legitimate size and athleticism around the basket. So absolutely, that's a focal part of the game plan. When to help, when not to help, when to stay connected, when to be in rotations, things like that. That's no secret. In terms of pace of play, we just got to get to the point where our offense helps our defense and our defense helps our offense. And so there's different tempos to play depending on, where you're playing, who you're playing, time and score. But I think we're trying to get our guys to understand, our pace is dictated a lot by what's going on with the game.
You've coached in some really good leagues, this being one of them this year. Is there something that you found as a key to, I guess, work through the week-by-week grind of a schedule like this?
Yeah, very similar to when I was in the Big 12 for all those years. But one thing about this league is, it sounds kind of like coaching speak, but it really is true. You've got to kind of have a short-term memory after a win or a loss. You got to kind of stay the course. I would argue that every team's going to have some ups and downs. It's going to be the teams that are probably most consistent that have a chance to be competitive as the conference race goes on. So with that in mind, there's a poise, there's a maturity, there's just an understanding that each game's going to bring a different opportunity. Very similar to some other leagues we've coached in the past. It's a very physical league. Don't envy the job that the officials have in this league. It's years ago you thought of the SEC as an athletic league, which it still is, but the physicality matches the athleticism every night. So not an easy league to officiate in, not an easy league to compete in, because literally on every possession there's something going on with physical contact. So one thing we try to explain to our guys is it's going to be a physical battle each game. You got to seek contact, you got to demand fouls, you got to be disciplined in big moments. But that's 2 things with the SEC this year, in my opinion.
You mentioned officiating. I'm curious, have you gotten any kind of directive from the league about what they aren't going to call in terms of contact, hand checks, that kind of thing? Seems like some years they're really disciplined on calling everything, and some years they're letting a lot go.
Yeah, this year, no real focal point, just reminders of, what they're looking for. Some years, obviously a couple years ago with the block charge, that was a big one, trying to eliminate basically charges from college basketball. A couple years before that, it was freedom of movement on cutters. And so, but this year, to my knowledge, there were no major rule changes. Post defense is always an area of concern. But this year, no focal point that we all just said, hey, the game just changed. So, really in our league, it's about trying to be disciplined. It's about, trying to show our hands on drives, understand the physicality. Every time a shot goes up in an SEC game, there's some pushing, there's some pulling. And so we talked to a lot of our guys about, controlling what we can control. I really do recognize that the officiating in this league is really good. I've coached in some leagues where that wasn't always the case. So those guys got a hard job. You know, from a coaching standpoint, you know, all we really ask for is consistency. But so far, so good with that regard.
Everybody for Coach?
All right, appreciate you guys.